The massive NIGMA warship hung in space like a dark cloud over Earth, its crystalline surface reflecting the distant sun. On the bridge of the United Earth Defense vessel, steadfast, Admiral James Stone stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien fleet through the reinforced viewport. "They're moving into attack formation, sir," reported Officer Tom Reed from his station. The young man's fingers flew across the holographic display, tracking the movements of the NIGMA ships. Stone nodded slowly. He had expected this. The NIGMA Empire wasn't known for diplomacy. Their reputation for conquest had spread through the few alien traders humanity had contacted since achieving faster-than-light travel just 5 years ago. "Open a channel," Stone ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of representing all of humanity in this moment. "All frequencies, all languages we've decoded from their transmissions." The communications officer, Mary Wilson, worked quickly. "Channel open, sir. They're receiving." Stone took a deep breath. This wasn't how humanity had hoped first contact with a major galactic power would go. But they had prepared for it. "This is Admiral James Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. You have entered restricted space. The Sol system is under human protection. Withdraw your forces immediately." The response came quickly, a harsh, clicking laugh that made several bridge crew members wince. The universal translator kicked in, converting the alien speech to English. "Primitive species," the NIGMA commander's voice boomed through the speakers. "Your system belongs to the Empire now. Surrender and you may serve as labor-class citizens. Resist, and we will take what we want anyway." Stone's expression didn't change. "You seem to be under the impression that we are afraid. We are not. This is not a negotiation. It is a warning. Leave now." Another laugh, longer this time. A hologram appeared on the bridge, showing the NIGMA commander. The alien was tall, with crystalline growths protruding from its shoulders and head, a sign of rank in their society. Its 4 eyes glowed with amusement. "You dare threaten the NIGMA Empire? Your ships are centuries behind ours. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses are laughable. What could you possibly do to harm us?" Stone allowed himself a small smile. "We were hoping you would ask that." He turned to Officer Reed. "Show them." Reed pressed a sequence of commands. From Earth's moon, a small satellite, previously hidden by quantum camouflage, activated. It fired a single invisible beam at one of the smaller NIGMA ships. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The alien vessel didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply ceased to exist, leaving not even dust behind. The quantum weapon had separated the ship's atomic bonds across multiple dimensions, effectively erasing it from reality. Silence filled the bridge of both ships. The NIGMA commander's hologram flickered as the alien stepped backward, its crystalline growths dulling in color, a sign of fear in their species. "That was a warning shot," Stone said quietly. "A demonstration using our smallest quantum destabilizer. We have larger ones, many larger ones. This is your only warning. Leave. Do not return. The Sol system is off-limits to the NIGMA Empire." This is impossible," the NIGMA commander stuttered. "Your species barely has spaceflight. You can't have this technology." "We focused on different priorities," Stone replied. "You built an empire across the stars. We studied the fabric of reality itself. Now, make your choice. The next shot won't be a warning." The NIGMA fleet hung in space for several long moments. Then, slowly, their engines began to glow. The massive ships turned away from Earth, preparing to jump to faster-than-light speed. "The Emperor will hear of this," the NIGMA commander threatened before cutting the transmission. Stone watched the alien fleet depart, his face grim. "I'm counting on it," he muttered. Officer Wilson spoke up from her station. "Sir, do you think they'll really stay away?" Stone turned to face his crew, his expression serious. "No, Mary, I don't. But we've shown them we're not helpless. We've given them something to think about. And when they return, he looked back at the stars where the NIGMA fleet had vanished. When they return, we'll be ready. The bridge crew returned to their duties, but everyone felt the tension in the air. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in a way that couldn't be ignored. The real question was, what would the NIGMA Empire do next? 3 months after the first encounter, the NIGMA Empire made its move. They thought they were being clever by striking at Mars instead of Earth. The Red Planet's colonies were smaller, less defended, and, in the Empire's view, expendable. The NIGMA attack force consisted of 3 capital ships, each one nearly 5 miles long. They appeared suddenly from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls gleaming under the distant sun. Multiple NIGMA signatures detected near Mars. Officer Reed's voice rang through Earth Defense Command. Admiral Stone, who had been expecting this day, didn't even look up from his coffee. "How many civilians in the attack zone?" he asked calmly. "Mars Colony 7 is in their path, sir. 2,000 colonists." Stone nodded and pressed a button on his command chair. "Attention Mars Colony 7. Initiate protocol shield. You have 5 minutes." He turned to his weapons officer. "Wake up the quantum defense grid." The response from Mars was quick. Hidden bunkers opened beneath the colony's surface. Within minutes, the colonists were safely underground, protected by layers of quantum-reinforced shields. The NIGMA ships didn't even notice, their sensors unable to penetrate the advanced human cloaking technology. The first NIGMA ship fired its main weapon, a beam of pure plasma hot enough to melt mountains. It hit the empty colony buildings, turning them to ash. Through the command center's video feed, Stone watched the aliens destroy the abandoned structures. "They're celebrating, sir," Officer Wilson reported, listening to the NIGMA communications. "They think they've killed everyone." Stone's face hardened. "Send them our response." High above Mars, 3 human satellites decloaked. They were small, no bigger than cars, and the NIGMA ships barely registered them as threats. That was their final mistake. The satellites activated simultaneously. There was no beam, no explosion, no dramatic light show. Reality simply shifted. Where 3 massive NIGMA capital ships had been, there was now only empty space. No debris, no radiation, no trace they had ever existed. Along with them, 5,000 NIGMA soldiers had been erased from existence. "Target elimination confirmed," Reed reported quietly. The command center was silent. Everyone knew they had just killed thousands of aliens, even if it had been painless and instant. Stone stood up. "Send a message to the NIGMA Emperor. Text only." He walked to the front of the command center and dictated, "Your ships are gone. Your soldiers are gone. They faced the consequences we warned you about. This is not a war you can win. Do not make us escalate further." The response came an hour later. The Emperor himself appeared on their screens, his crystalline growths glowing red with rage. "You dare," he roared. "You dare to attack the greatest empire the galaxy has ever seen. You dare to threaten us with your trickery and deception." Stone didn't flinch. "We dared to defend ourselves, Emperor, with weapons you can't understand or counter. Leave humanity alone, or next time we won't target empty ships." "Empty." The Emperor's laugh was cold. "Those ships carried 5,000 of my finest warriors." "We know," Stone replied. "That's why we gave you one last chance to withdraw. Their deaths are on your hands, not ours. We warned you once. Consider this your second and final warning." The Emperor's image leaned forward, his 4 eyes blazing. "You think you've won. You think this display of cowardly tactics will save you. I command a fleet of 10,000 ships. I will turn your entire system to ash." Stone simply shook his head. "No, Emperor, you'll try. And then you'll learn why humans spent centuries preparing for this moment." End transmission. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Officer Wilson spoke up. "Sir, do you think he'll really send his whole fleet?" "Of course he will, Mary." Stone turned to face his crew. His pride won't let him do anything else. The NIGMA Empire has never lost a war, never failed to conquer a species that resisted them. But they've never faced humans before. He smiled grimly. And pride. Pride is a weakness we're counting on. As the command center returned to its normal operations, everyone knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity would have to reveal weapons they had hoped never to use. 2 weeks passed after the Mars incident. Earth's skies turned dark as 10,000 NIGMA warships dropped out of hyperspace, blocking the sun like a swarm of metallic locusts. Their crystalline hulls created strange rainbow patterns in Earth's atmosphere. In the Earth Defense Command bunker, buried 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Stone watched the tactical display with calm eyes. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency, their months of drills paying off. NIGMA fleet has taken position around Earth, Officer Reed reported. They're in attack formation. Energy readings are off the charts. Stone nodded, launched the solar probes. Across the Sol system, hundreds of tiny satellites activated. They had been hiding in plain sight, disguised as research equipment. Now they showed their true purpose, creating a massive energy web around Earth. The Emperor's face appeared on the main screen, his crystalline growths, now a deep purple, a sign of supreme confidence in NIGMA culture. "Your parlor tricks won't save you now," the Emperor sneered. "I've brought enough firepower to crack your planet in half. Surrender, and I might let some of your species survive as slaves." Stone didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed a button on his chair. Shield network active. A shimmer appeared around Earth as thousands of quantum shield generators activated simultaneously. The planet was now encased in a bubble of altered spacetime. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with," Stone finally replied. "We're not defending Earth. We're containing what's about to happen." The Emperor laughed. "Enough. All ships, open fire." 10,000 ships fired their weapons at once. Plasma beams, energy torpedoes, and antimatter missiles struck Earth's shield. The energy released was enough to destroy a small moon. The shield held. Impossible. The Emperor's growths turned pale. "Nothing can withstand that much firepower." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "The laws of physics are more like guidelines to us now. Your weapons are impressive, Emperor, but they operate within the normal rules of spacetime. We stopped playing by those rules a long time ago. Keep firing." The Emperor roared. "Concentrate all power on one spot. Break through." The NIGMA fleet adjusted their position, focusing all their weapons on a single point of the shield. The energy output was beyond anything ever recorded in the galaxy's history. A small crack appeared in the shield. "Sir," Officer Wilson reported, "they're breaking through." Stone's expression didn't change. "Just as we calculated. Begin Phase 2. Around Earth, hidden defense platforms activated. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, they began changing the very nature of space around the NIGMA fleet. What are you doing?" The Emperor's voice held fear for the first time. His ship's sensors were showing impossible readings. "We tried to warn you," Stone said quietly. "We spent centuries preparing for this moment. Not building bigger guns or stronger ships, but understanding the deepest secrets of reality itself." The space around the NIGMA fleet began to shimmer. Ships at the edge of the formation started reporting engine failures as the laws of physics began to change in their vicinity. "This is your absolute final warning," Stone declared. "Leave now, while your ships can still engage their drives. Next time, we won't be so merciful." The Emperor's face showed a complex mix of emotions: rage, fear, and dawning understanding. "You're bluffing. No species could have this level of technology without conquering the galaxy." That's where you're wrong, Stone replied. We had a choice: expand across the stars or understand them. We chose understanding, and now you're seeing the result of that choice. More ships began reporting failures. The laws of physics were becoming increasingly unstable around the fleet. Some vessels could no longer maintain their crystalline structure. Finally, the Emperor gave the order. All ships, retreat. Return to Imperial space. The massive fleet turned away from Earth, those ships still capable of faster-than-light travel helping to tow the disabled ones. As they fled, Stone sent one final message. Remember this day, Emperor. Remember that humans warned you twice. There won't be a third warning. As the last NIGMA ship disappeared into hyperspace, Officer Reed turned to Stone. They'll be back, won't they, sir? Yes, Stone replied grimly. But next time, they'll bring something they think can counter our technology. And that's exactly what we're counting on. The command center fell silent as everyone contemplated what would come next. They had won this battle, but the real test was still to come. 1 month after their retreat, the NIGMA Empire returned. This time, they brought something new. Massive ships carrying strange devices that distorted the fabric of space itself. They called them reality anchors, designed to stabilize normal physics within their range. Admiral Stone watched from the command bunker as the NIGMA fleet, now 15,000 ships strong, surrounded Earth once again. Their reality anchors created visible tears in the quantum shield, like cracks in glass. Shield integrity dropping. Officer Reed announced, his voice tense. Their new technology. It's working, sir. They're breaking through. Stone pressed a button on his command console. Attention all Earth citizens. Operation Underground is now active. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Across the planet, billions of people moved with practiced efficiency toward underground shelters. For 50 years, humanity had built vast cities beneath the Earth's surface, preparing for this very day. The Emperor's face appeared on the main screen, his crystalline growths glowing with triumph. Did you really think we couldn't adapt? That we wouldn't find a way to counter your quantum tricks? Actually, Stone replied calmly, we were counting on it. The Emperor's satisfaction faltered slightly. What? You still don't understand. Everything that's happened, from our first warning to this moment, was planned decades ago. You're not breaking our defense, Emperor. You're completing it. A massive crack appeared in Earth's shield as the reality anchors did their work. The Emperor laughed. Your shields are failing. Your defenses are broken. And still you try to bluff. Sir, Officer Wilson reported, civilian evacuation is at 98%. Underground cities report all systems ready. Stone nodded. Initiate Protocol Omega. Across Earth's surface, strange devices began emerging from hidden bunkers. They weren't weapons, at least not in any traditional sense. They were reality engines, machines that could alter the fundamental constants of the universe. What are those? The Emperor demanded, his growths paling as his ship's sensors detected power readings beyond anything they had ever recorded. The real reason we went underground, Stone explained. What's about to happen? Well, the surface won't be very habitable for a while. The reality engines activated just as the NIGMA fleet broke through the last of Earth's shields. But instead of firing at the alien ships, the devices began changing reality itself. The very constants that govern the universe, the speed of light, the strong nuclear force, quantum entanglement, all began to shift. Impossible. The Emperor watched in horror as his reality anchors, instead of preventing these changes, began to amplify them. What have you done? We used your own arrogance against you, Stone said quietly. Those reality anchors of yours, they're perfect conductors for what we're about to do. Thank you for bringing so many of them. The changes spread rapidly through space, carried by the NIGMA fleet's own technology. Ships began to break apart as the laws of physics shifted. Some simply vanished. their matter converting to energy under the new universal constants. Others twisted into impossible shapes before disappearing entirely. "All ships, retreat," the Emperor screamed. But it was too late. The changes had spread too far, making faster-than-light travel impossible within the affected zone. "Officer Wilson," Stone ordered, "send our final message to the Emperor." Wilson nodded and transmitted. "We warned you twice. We showed you our power. We gave you every chance to walk away. Remember, in the years to come, humanity did not want this war. You brought this upon yourselves." The Emperor's last transmission was cut short as his flagship encountered a region where the speed of light had been reduced to walking pace. The screen went dark. "Sir," Reed reported, "the cascade effect is spreading faster than predicted. It's going to reach deeper into NIGMA space than we calculated." Stone closed his eyes briefly. "The price of their pride will be high, but we'll pay a price too. The surface. It'll be centuries before it's habitable again." "Was it worth it, sir?" Officer Wilson asked softly. Stone looked at the tactical display, showing the spreading wave of altered reality that would eventually cripple the entire NIGMA empire. "Ask me again in 100 years, when our descendants emerge from underground. For now, we endure." The command center fell silent as they watched their world change forever, knowing that the next phase of the war, and humanity's greatest test, was just beginning. Deep in the remains of the NIGMA flagship, now drifting in the altered space around Earth, the Emperor made a terrifying discovery. His scientists, analyzing data from the reality engines, had found something that changed everything. "My Emperor," his chief scientist reported, "crystal growths dim with fear, the humans. They've been working on this technology since they discovered fire. Their entire history was leading to this moment." In Earth's underground command center, Admiral Stone received word that the NIGMA flagship was still intact, though powerless. "They're going through our old research facilities on the surface," Officer Wilson reported. "They found the archives." Stone nodded grimly. "Good. Let them see. Let them understand." The Emperor stared at the ancient human documents his troops had recovered. Cave paintings showing quantum equations. Medieval manuscripts hiding mathematical formulas for reality manipulation. Modern research papers spanning centuries, all focused on one goal: understanding and controlling the fabric of reality itself. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their entire civilization. It was all preparation." His scientists confirmed what he feared. While other species reached for the stars, humans had reached for something far more fundamental. They hadn't built their quantum technology in decades or centuries. They had built it over their entire existence. In the underground city designated Alpha One, Stone walked through the massive halls where millions of humans now lived. The city stretched for hundreds of miles beneath the Earth's surface, one of dozens like it around the world. Children played in artificial parks while adults went about their daily routines, all of them safe from the reality storm raging above. "Admiral," Officer Reed's voice came through his communicator, "we're detecting attempts at communication from the NIGMA flagship." "Put it through to my personal device," Stone ordered, finding a quiet corner in the underground city's central park. The Emperor's face appeared, no longer proud but filled with confusion and fear. "How long?" he demanded. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the beginning," Stone replied simply. "Every human civilization, every scientific breakthrough, every technological advancement, all of it was guided toward understanding the quantum nature of reality. We knew someday we would need it. But why?" The Emperor's voice cracked. "Why hide your true power? Why build everything underground? Why wait?" Stone smiled sadly. "Because we knew the price of using this technology. We knew that changing the fundamental constants of the universe would make the surface uninhabitable. We needed a place for our people to survive what was coming. The underground cities were always the plan. For thousands of years, humanity prepared for this moment. While you conquered the stars, we conquered reality itself. The Emperor's growths had turned almost white, a sign of complete shock in his species. The warning, "You warned us because we didn't want to do this," Stone finished. "We didn't want to change the universe. We didn't want to hide underground. But you gave us no choice." Suddenly, alarms blared in both locations. Officer Reed's voice came urgently through the communicator. "Sir, the reality changes are accelerating. The cascade effect. It's spreading throughout the galaxy." The Emperor looked at his own readings in horror. "What have you done? What have we made you do?" "We created a weapon that would ensure mutual destruction," Stone explained calmly. "Your empire will fall. Your technology will fail. Your worlds will have to adapt to new laws of physics. And we will wait in our underground cities until the surface is safe again." "You sacrifice your own world to stop us," the Emperor realized. "No," Stone corrected him. "You sacrificed our world when you wouldn't heed our warnings. The only difference is, we were prepared for the sacrifice." The transmission began breaking up as reality itself shifted around them. The Emperor's last words barely came through. "What happens now?" "Now." Stone looked up at the artificial sky of the underground city. "Now humanity waits. We have food, water, and energy for 1,000 years. We have cities that can house billions. We have everything we need to survive what's coming. The question is, will your people be able to say the same?" The transmission died as the final wave of reality changes swept through the solar system. Above ground, the world was transforming into something alien and uninhabitable. But underground, humanity continued, knowing they had defended themselves the only way they could, by changing the rules of existence itself. In the silence of his office, Stone whispered a prayer for all the worlds that would suffer from the Emperor's pride. The true cost of their victory was only beginning to unfold. 10 years after the quantum cascade began, the true horror of what happened became clear to the galaxy. The NIGMA Empire, once the most powerful civilization in known space, was crumbling. From his observation post in the underground city of Beta 3, Admiral Stone, now much older, watched the reports coming in through quantum-shielded probes. The scenes they showed were both fascinating and terrifying. Another NIGMA core world has lost spaceflight capability, Officer Reed reported, his hair now gray at the temples. That makes 17 out of their 20 main planets. The reality changes had spread like a virus through space, carried by the NIGMA's own reality anchors. Their mighty ships now lay useless, their crystal technology unable to function under the new laws of physics. Worlds that once controlled the stars were reduced to using simple machines. "Play the latest transmission from their capital world," Stone ordered. The screen showed scenes of chaos. The once proud crystalline cities of the NIGMA homeworld were dissolving, their molecular structure incompatible with the altered reality. The Emperor's palace, once a marvel of alien engineering that stretched into the clouds, had collapsed into a pile of ordinary sand. "Their civilization is regressing," Officer Wilson noted, reviewing the data. "Without their advanced technology, they're losing everything they built over thousands of years." Stone nodded grimly. "Show me Earth's surface." The view switched to their own world. The surface had become alien and strange. Gravity fluctuated in random patterns. Light moved at different speeds in different areas. Simple chemical reactions that once powered their machines now produced entirely different results. "The containment field is holding," Reed reported. "Our underground cities remain protected from the changes. Life support systems are at 100% efficiency." In another part of Beta 3 City, Stone walked through a school where children learned about their new reality. Teachers explained why they lived underground, why they couldn't go to the surface, and what their ancestors had done to protect them. "Admiral." A young girl recognized him and waved. "We learned about you in history class today." Stone smiled sadly. The girl couldn't have been more than 8 years old. She had never seen the real sky, never felt real wind. Like all children born after the cascade, She knew only the artificial environment of the underground cities. His communicator buzzed. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. Well, you need to see this." In his office, Stone watched as the face of the NIGMA emperor appeared. But this wasn't the proud ruler he remembered. The emperor's crystal growths had fallen off, leaving him looking old and ordinary. The transmission was crude, nothing like their once advanced technology. "Admiral Stone," the emperor's voice cracked. "I hope this message reaches you. Our worlds are dying. Our people are suffering. The reality changes. They've destroyed everything we built." "As we warned you they would," Stone replied, though he felt no joy in saying it. "Our children can't use the technology we created. Our ships are useless. Even our basic machines don't work properly anymore. We're being forced to start over. From nothing." Stone leaned forward. "Why are you contacting us?" "To tell you, you've won. More completely than any victory in history. You didn't just defeat our empire. You made it impossible for us to be what we were. We can never threaten anyone again." The transmission began breaking up. Even simple radio waves behaved strangely in the new reality. The emperor's last words barely came through. Was it worth it? Destroying the universe to stop us? After the screen went dark, Stone sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke to the empty room. "We didn't destroy the universe. We just changed the rules. Life will adapt. It always does." In the great halls of Beta 3, humans continued their new existence. Scientists worked on understanding the changed laws of physics. Children grew up never knowing the world above. And in space, the mighty NIGMA empire learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes the price of pride is the future itself. Stone looked at a painting on his wall, an image of Earth's surface as it once was, with blue skies and green fields. "The surface will be habitable again," he whispered. "Maybe not in my lifetime, but someday. And when that day comes, humanity will emerge into a universe that can never be ruled by empire again." 200 years after the quantum cascade, a small ship approached the Sol system. It wasn't NIGMA. Their empire was long gone, reduced to scattered worlds living in a pre-industrial age. This ship belonged to the Galactic Historical Society, drawn by the legends of what happened here. Dr. Jack Brown, a descendant of Earth's underground cities, and now the leading expert on the NIGMA war, stood on the bridge. At age 70, he had spent his entire life studying what his ancestors had done. "Approaching Earth's orbit," the pilot announced. "The reality distortion field is still active, running safety protocols." The ship's sensors showed a strange sight. Earth's surface was wrapped in shifting patterns of light and energy, the laws of physics still twisted from the ancient war. But something else caught their attention. "Doctor," the science officer called out, "we're detecting activity, deep underground." Brown smiled. "They're still there, the underground cities. 2 centuries later, humanity endures." Their ship received a transmission from below. A young woman's face appeared on screen. "An officer of the Underground Earth Command. Historical Society vessel, you are cleared for approach. Please follow the quantum beacon to Safe Dock 7. As they descended through specially shielded tunnels, Brown saw the impossible city his ancestors had built. Beta 5, one of the largest underground settlements, stretched for miles beneath the Earth's twisted surface. Millions of people lived here, generations born and raised underground, never seeing the real sky. "Welcome to Beta 5, their guide, Officer Lisa Miller, greeted them. "You've come for the anniversary, I assume." Brown nodded. 200 years since the cascade. We're documenting the long-term effects." They walked through the vast city. Children played in artificial parks, schools taught classes, and life continued as it had for 2 centuries. But there were differences from the old records. The people here had adapted. Their eyes were slightly larger, their skin slightly paler. Evolution's response to underground life. "What about the surface?" Brown asked. Any progress? Miller led them to a monitoring station. See for yourself. The screen showed the world above. The reality changes had created something new. Strange crystalline formations grew where forests once stood. Animals had evolved to survive in areas where gravity fluctuated. New forms of life were emerging, adapted to the altered physics. And the NIGMA worlds? Brown asked, though he knew the answer. Still primitive, Miller replied. The latest probes show their descendants living simple lives. They retained stories about their ancestors who once ruled the stars. But to them, they're just legends now. In the city's central museum, Brown studied the artifacts from the war, the original quantum devices, Admiral Stone's uniform, and most importantly, the final message from the NIGMA Emperor, preserved for 2 centuries. Was it worth it? The Emperor's last words still echoed through time. A group of school children entered the museum, their teacher explaining their history. Our ancestors faced a choice, she told them. Submit to alien rule or change the universe itself. They chose to change the universe. That's why we live here, why we can't go to the surface yet. But they also gave us something else. Absolute safety. No empire will ever threaten Earth again. Brown watched the children absorb this lesson. One raised her hand. But teacher, what happens when the surface becomes safe again? Then we'll go up, the teacher smiled. Our scientists say it might take another 100 years, maybe more. But someday our descendants will walk under the real sky again. As Brown prepared to leave Earth, he made one final stop. In the deepest level of Beta 5, in a perfectly preserved chamber, lay the body of Admiral Stone in a stasis pod. The admiral had chosen to be preserved until the day humanity could return to the surface. You did it, Admiral, Brown whispered to the sleeping figure. You saved humanity. The price was high, but we survived. And someday, when we walk on the surface again, it will be in a universe where no empire can ever threaten us again. The legacy of humanity's choice lived on. They had not just won a war, they had changed the rules of existence itself. And in doing so, they had ensured that their descendants would inherit a galaxy where peace was not just an ideal, but a fundamental law of physics. In the depths of Earth, humanity waited, adapted, and prepared for the day they would emerge into the strange new world they had created.